Family, that's your favorite Puerto Rican Brooklyn Philly, and I'm back with another message. And the message got interrupted. It said camera storage is full, which, well, I'm not going to go into detail about that. However, the two cards that had already been fallen out, and I had already began a discussion about, where the first one was the Seven of Wands. And in the Seven of Wands, what became evidently clear is that if this message is for you, beloved, if this message, you'll know if this message is for you. If you are someone who, I heard in most recent time, would be considered to have experienced a glow up. I mean, look how sharp his hair and his mustache is. His body physique is very ripped, right? You have found yourself in the past maybe in situations where you were subjugated, I'm hearing now, right? Exploited, trigger warning, abused, taken for granted, unappreciated. Your love was taken for granted, and your kindness was taken as a weakness, right? And unfortunately, right, with the little skull with poison, right? So I'm hearing you became self-sacrificial in the eyes of others, right? Again, this is not saying that this is true, but you were even seen as a throwaway, right? As something that can be used and manipulated in that way, whether by friend, family, or foe, or a lover, right? Or a job, right? The other thing that stuck out that I recall saying that usually when you see something like the vision that I get with someone breaking through bars, I think of King Kong. And then look, there is like this Kong figure on his chest, which was like, oh, okay, look, y'all, there's Kong there. So then I went into the King Kong series or story where, here was this primate who was on his island where he was the king, he was the ish, nothing messed with him, right? He ruled that land, but he was taken from his land. He was seduced out the land through a love, right? By falling in love with a woman, right? That's a whole nother subject, but through love, and then taken to a whole nother land and exploited. Yeah, again, there's a sense of exploitation. Exploited, and then when he rebelled against the exploitation, right? The cameras flashing in his face and everything like that. And even when he saw the thing he loved in danger, he got, you know what I mean, for it. So there's something about that, right? If you're watching this, you can resonate with aspects of that story. Also, right, this becomes the strong man in the circus, right? Here it is, right? It's unthinkable for a man to be able to bend iron bars like that at will. But there's something of, yeah, I know I've said it a couple of, but like, Papa, I've taken all I can stands and I can't stands no more. I'm no longer maybe believing the old lies or the old tapes that would play that would say that, I deserved either that treatment or behavior, or that I'm, for whatever reason, need to like eat it to continue to expose myself to it and allow people to do that to me, right? And it comes out of, what I'm hearing is accountability, self-love, and self-care, right? Because you begin to question, if I'm speaking to you, beloved, you begin to ask yourself, well, why am I allowing such inappropriate behavior, such disrespect? Why am I remaining in places and spaces or around people who don't value me or who don't pour back into me what I so freely pour into them, right? There's this sense of that line of questioning, right? I'm hearing it turned to switch in you. You finally came to see that you're worthy just like anybody else, right? The very fact that you have breath and are alive says that you already, are worthy and should have, what I'm hearing, these inalienable rights, right? You are this sacred consciousness, and as such should be respected and supported in that way, particularly and specifically if you are a vessel, I'm hearing, that does respect and support others and show love and kindness. So then why are you allowing anything less for yourself. So you began to do that, and the more you questioned and I'm hearing, the more you saw that it was erroneous, right? And it was false not to believe these things about yourself. And the more you believed, that this goodness belonged to you just like anybody else, you responded accordingly, right? So many of you, maybe you did, change the hair up. Maybe you began to do more self-care products. Maybe for some of you, you did begin some type of, it doesn't have to be exercise or the gym for everybody, but maybe some type of movement routine. Maybe it was Tai Chi. Maybe it's double Dutch. Maybe it's skating. Maybe it's bike riding, right? Black girls ride, right? Whatever it is, it has caused and helped to elevate you within, and it is now reflecting without. And you're no longer subjugating yourself. You're no longer allowing not just anything external around you, but internally to stop you or keep you caged. And because you no longer accept it from deep within, you're definitely not going to allow anything outside of you to cage you, right? I'm hearing no one puts baby in the corner, right? You're not going to be caged, right? You will rebel against such an environment, such behavior. Even with this, the second card that came out was Five of Wands, and I heard, people not only misunderstood, but read you wrong, right? There's a word and it won't come out, but they got you messed up. They really thought that because you were kind and generous and loving. Well, I'm hearing some of them weren't even doing it consciously or intentionally, right? For some, because of their own trauma bonds and their own wounding, they couldn't for themselves fathom someone treating them so loving and kind, right? They couldn't see something like that for themselves. Therefore, they would project back and respond in these ways because they too, similarly to you, could not fathom that they deserve such love and kindness for themselves, and as a result would then respond to you in a not very kind or appreciative or reciprocal way. And then for others who are a little more shrewd and intentional about such said competitions, they underestimated you. There you go, right? Because as human beings, sometimes we do tend to think that people that are kind are feeble and gullible, right? We tend to confuse innocence and purity, right, to naivety, right? We tend to look at someone who still operates from like a childlike essence that, oh, they're just dumb, right? My son just came in and he hears him. He hears him, so he's responding in kind. God bless you. So, and I don't know, right? That might have been confirmation for somebody, right? But the point is that, here she is, she's playing chess, not checkers, where for some reason people thought you were playing checkers. And now they're, I'm hearing concerned, they're worried. Some are perplexed, because not only are you playing chess, but you're very skilled. You're actually a very good chess player. And, when I see this card, I'm reminded of this movie called The Queen's Gambit. So that may be significant. You can go watch that movie. But the Queen's Gambit is an opening chess move, that is used by a skilled player. So, I just heard checkmate, bitches. And people didn't anticipate this. I'm hearing you've caught them off guard. You are the talk around town now, right? People are, discussing you. Look, Nine of Swords, right? And this is my all eyes on me card, right? And that's what I'm hearing, that in the past, or even if it's not in the past, beloved, this all eyes on me would have caused you to respond this way, shrinking, being timid, right? Not knowing how to respond to it. But you're not. This is you. This is how you're showing up. You know, very confident, very strong, very resolute. You know, I said what I said, and I'm standing 10 toes down on what? On me. You know, I bet on me, right? Like, that's very, look at the stark difference I'm hearing between the two, right? Even in just the sense of like the picture, you know, I'm hearing a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? If I wasn't talking, if you was just to see the juxtaposition or the comparison of these two pictures, right? Compare and contrast, you would see that in one is very confident, very strong, nothing meek or feeble about it. And the other one, very timid, very lacking confidence, lots of anxiety, feeling powerless, here powerful. There's a distinctive, and I'm hearing is those other, all these tattoos are representative of the different levels and cycles you had to grow through and go through, right, to get to this stage. Now they're directing me to what I was channeling. So interestingly enough, today they wanted to emphasize on power dynamics and power over. For some reason today, I noticed that several cars had that Rudolph the Red-Nosed Red, like clown looking nose on their car. I'm like, wait a minute, why everywhere I'm looking, I'm seeing this red nose? And we're on what, January 14th, right, or 15th? So Christmas is well far from over. Even in the Puerto Rican or remote Spanish, you know, January 6th was ours, Three Kings Day. So what is up with this nose? And I was told that is the story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. How, if you recall it, he was a misfit. He did not fit in because of his nose. His nose made him different, and as a result, his difference made him an outcast. However, this outcast, spoiler alert, if you never saw Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the story, the very thing that he was ostracized for, the very thing he was laughed at, teased for, rejected for, became the very crucial thing necessary to save Christmas in the story, right? And even Santa, I believe, you know, didn't necessarily initially see the value in his glowing red nose. But when it came to that blizzard and he had to get out all those presents, they needed Rudolph's red nose to guide them through the night, right? To be the light, right? And then I heard Dumbo. Dumbo, it was his ears, right? He came out as like, ha, 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 that he was rejected and laughed and scorned and saw as less valuable or without value because of his ears. And then later on, Dumbo, the flying elephant, is the one that's interesting. He sells out the circus, and this is very much the circus strongman. So there's something about, right? And now I'm hearing this compare and contrast to the world, and then, like, let's say a circus, right? In a circus, we go to typically to see everything that is weird, that is out the norm, that does make us go, ooh, ah, for whatever reason, in comparison to the world, right? For lack of a better example, but where the norm would be, right? Where everything is quote unquote normal. So there's this distinction Spirit is making about that. Then I was reminded of, and I wrote it down as bank affiliations. One of the things that happened between yesterday and today, I was creating accounts due to for personal reasons. I wanted to create a new checking account with another bank. You better not. You better not. Get down and come here. What's all the fuss for? Go lay down. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. One of the things that that became very so yesterday I went to one branch. When I went to this one branch, it was empty. The tellers that was there was very aesthetically beautiful. Every body, every stereotypical attribute, or what, I don't, I'm losing the word, but that would be personified in today's society as what would represent beauty. For example, the way the hair was styled, the eyebrows, the way they now can tattoo them in or henna them in, like where you can do it, the tint for quite, several years for them to be outlined a specific way, the lashes, the makeup, the with all respect, the boob job, the body job. She was the poster board for that. Not, no shade, no tea, the reason why, you'll see why Spirit is making me make this distinction. When I went into the branch was completely empty. It was only noon, and I asked to open up a checking account. She told me that there was nobody, that all the appointments had been booked. They don't close till 5 o'clock. I looked around, there was no one there. She said I needed to make an appointment, that I could do it online. I explained I don't know how to do it by myself online, that that's why I came into the branch. I want somebody to actually walk me through, explain some things to me. She said that I would need to make an appointment. I said, okay, so when can I get the appointment? It was for the next day, which was today. And I had to make it at 12 noon. And then she almost didn't even give me a specific person. I asked, well, who am I? And she gave me the name. No problem. I left a little disappointed because I'm thinking, what was been so hard to open up this so I'm not going to mention the bank or anything. It's not necessary, but it's a well-known bank. Shut up now. So then today, when I go back for my 12 noon appointment, 3 women are there that show themselves, all of them like clones of one another in terms of aesthetics and the stereotypical what would be held in high standard for what beauty in terms of for women today, right? Different because these were 2-3 different women, different in like maybe hair color and maybe in body specific configurations, but clones of in terms of the overall aesthetics and what they still followed the same rules. Let's just put it that way in terms of what that means. Again, no shade, no tea, right? It's beautiful. I think that women, we can, everybody has the right to do whatever they want to their body, their faces, and to live out what they feel is the beauty for them. That's not what Spirit is speaking of here. However, by the time I did the appointment and finished it, I didn't walk away with a debit card. I couldn't walk away with the mobile app, and they weren't really helpful with that. I didn't walk away with much of anything other than being told the account is open and you can wait 7 days in the mail for your card, which was exactly the opposite of what I wanted. I was expecting same day like card that I can access to, and some other answers and perks. In my interview, after we go through everything at the end and I say, well, these were my expectations and I didn't get it, she then says to me, well, only these 2 other banks do that. They're the only 2 banks that, provide those kind of services. I didn't know that. So in my head, I'm like, well, I should have been, one of them I already banked with, but I didn't know about the other one. I left there disappointed, thinking, okay, I got to wait 7 days for this card now. And some said, no, go to the other bank. She did mention to you which bank it is. Isn't that one right by your way? I just pop in on them today, no appointment. Not only do they service me, not only do they open up the checking account for me, not only do they help me with the online account and how to make sure that I don't incur fees for statements, and give me the most basic one that would fit the needs that I'm in. But then I walked out of there also with the card that I needed to begin the real reason why I even went in there to open up this account in the first place. Mind you, no one in there would classify as the poster child for what is the typical standard of American beauty right now. If anything, they would be quite the opposite in terms of attire, in terms of aesthetics, and mannerisms and everything, right? Because at this other branch, it was very prim and proper and, for lack of a better word, bougie, right? It was like this whole, I'm hearing facade like standard, right? Which is nothing wrong with it. But Spirit then go to this. It was more loose, more relaxed, more casual, still professional, right? I'm not saying it was ratchet or anything like that, but just very different. Yet the services were impeccable and same day. And then not only that, they gave me a pen and a baseball. So I walked out of there with even perks, right? And little that I wanted. I was like, oh, that's, that I wanted, right? That which was interesting because the baseball gave me childhood nostalgia. So and then she was even kind enough to go with me and help me deposit a check, show me how to deposit it and everything, go outside, do the whole process. I mean, chef's kiss when it came down to services and me walking out of there as a satisfied customer, getting everything exactly that I wanted. So there was this distinction that Spirit wanted to make about so maybe there's this, again, since we were talking here that people had you messed up, maybe you don't fit, right, the standards or the stereotypes or the to any of those things, right? Of what people would think should mean that this would mean that you're successful, or this would mean that you, would have this or acquire that or whatever. And they were sadly, I'm seeing that scene now with in Pretty Woman when Julia Roberts walks in and, she looks like a prostitute, right? Let's just go for it. And she got the mini skirt and is wrapped up. She's chewing the gum. Her hair is all wild or whatever. And those people in that store, in that boutique, treated her like crap. They looked at her and underestimated her and judged her just based on, they don't know if she was having a bad day. So many things could be, right? Sometimes we have bad hair days. Sometimes, we don't want to get all dressed up and we want to just, run out real quick in our sweatpants or whatever. And, now I'm here in sweatpants and ponytail. That's when you're the prettiest. I think that's Drake or something like that. Nevertheless, she goes back the next day shopping on Rodeo Drive with Richard Gere. He gets her everything she wants, leaves her with like the maximum credit card. She walks back into their store completely decked, looking like the poster child for whatever the standard now is of like la creme of la creme of crafts, and says, you guys, she says, you don't remember me, do you? And they were like, oh no, that was the girl that was in here yesterday, the one that you treated like crap. You work off commission, don't you? And then showed all the bags with like all the name brands that clearly says I done spent like 50 grand or more. Big mistake, right? So that's what I heard haters with look at the eyes on this one. I'm hearing it. Can the camera pick it up? Oh, it was doing such a good job. Like that. I'm hearing people's eyes are bulging out their head. They can't believe the transformation that you have undergone. They're completely mind struck. And then this is the thing. And okay, Spirit, I hear you. You know what Spirit just said? People tend to look at the glow up or assume, right, because of the aesthetics or whatever, that makes these people, but they don't understand, right? Because I'm hearing, in order for you to glow like this and have this strength to bend those bars on the outside, You had to do some internal work. And look, this is this person holding this tower, because I'm hearing you created, most people run from the tower, fear the tower, try to stop with all their might the tower. In this picture, you created the tower. You said no. You were not afraid to go into those depths, right? Into the deep subconscious, right? To deal with the woundings and the issues that were necessary for you to face, right? You faced your fears and say, if everything has to crumble and I have to start fresh, so be it. If I have to walk away from everything and everyone that I supposedly love and do love, but and poured everything into, but didn't pour it back into me. And because I feared that I might not get anybody like that again. I might not find another job like that again. I might not find another lover. Like you said, to heck with all of it. If it all has to crumble in order for me to become all that I need to be and finally see me for who I need to see me as, then so be it. Whoever you are, beloved, you caused your own tower. That's some powerful shit. Where most of us run from that, you said bring it on, and you brought it on yourself. Right? This is how bad you wanted this healing. This is how bad I'm hearing that you wanted to I'm going over to see if there was some other messages that are standing out to this, because another thing that came out was The General's Daughter, this movie with Sylvester Stallone, is it? Yeah, I think so. But where the father was implicit in the cover-up of his daughter's trigger warning, rape and torture. If you remember, it's a movie that was another thing that became significant, the year 1999. So the year 1999 may be significant to somebody, but and maybe even for a trauma wound, right, may have been significant around the year 99 for some of you that are listening. But what was so appalling about, right, when you find out, a spoiler alert, was that the father did know that happened to his daughter, but because of, again, his reputation, the persona he had created as the general, right? He was just about to also, I think, run for office or something. All of that became more important than the actual event that traumatized the F out his own child, his own daughter. And then there's something about, again, power dynamics and power over, right? The whole movie is also bringing light to women in the military and how they were and still are being disrespected and even hazed and abused for, quote unquote, taking positions that belong to men, right? So there's something about that, right? And then maybe in your own life, in your own community, at your own place of employment, in your own relationships, whether personal, platonic, familial, you were feeling those things. You were being ostracized or rejected or even power over. Yeah, because now they're telling me. So Karen, which is a manager that I know, and that's not her name. I changed her name for, reasons that Spirit told me to. But Karen, for instance, that I had to contend with, she makes macadamians at the local college in her little town, in her little capital, right? And she likes to come to work and show us pictures of her little adventures and vacation with her family and her children and her husband and things of that nature, and the events that they go to. But she's vindictive and abuses her power over her employees. And it's like what Spirit was showing me is how, right, in someone's mind that, because that's another thing, the general's daughter was into psychological warfare, studying the psychology of the mind. But so then that's another thing that Spirit showed, right, that how is it that a person on one hand, right, that on paper or aesthetically or reputationally wise, like I said, like a Karen that's making macadamia, who teaches a course on making macadamians at the community college, right, which looks like freaking, Betty freaking Crocker, right? Like, I'm sure to those students and everything, what would they do if they were to find out that she is then on the job that she works being this vindictive, manipulative, abusive in power over employees who can't defend themselves, right? Or who feel they can't, right? And abusing that. It's like, what's up with that? So there's something about the dynamic, and my heart goes out to you, beloved, if that's been your experience. I'm hearing for some of you for a very long time, and not just at the workplace, but in most of the either communities and neighborhoods, environments, groups that you have been around, right? Now, the Hierophant wanted to show itself, and so did the Lovers. Now, what's interesting, and my nose is itching, my ancestors are here. What's interesting is, so now I'm hearing childhood conditioning, right? Because this owl is teaching the child, right? So a lot of this, and now I'm hearing it differently. Okay, give me a second because it's coming in so fast. Help, Spirit. Slow down a little bit. So this Hierophant came on the landed on top of, right, the Five of Wands, where clearly she's playing chess, not checkers. Where clearly she is so skilled at playing this that her opening move is the Queen's Gambit, which is a lethal like opening move that is utilized only by like people who know how to play chess. Let's just put it that way, because I can't go into depth about the chess world because I'm not that familiar with it. And it's something about you've been taught since a child to play chess, right? Whether that's literally, right, for some, but it's I'm hearing spiritual chess, it's intellectual chess, it's emotional chess, it's intuition, chess when it comes down to the intuition. You've been groomed, right? You've been your ancestors, right? Because my nose started itching, which for me is that they've been instilling this, and not instilling because you were born with it, I'm hearing. So it's not that it had to be instilled, but they were cultivating it within you from a very young age, right? Maybe you was this child who I'm hearing, right? The adults would say about you, oh my God, that child is so smart. Or, oh my God, did you just hear her conversation? You would think she's a young adult, right? Speaking, and she's only 5-6 years old. Or it can also have been, you could have been the child where the adults got mad at you because they tried to like trick you and manipulate you the way they would normally be able to with children, but you were different. You could see through their lies, you could see through their manipulation, and at times unknowingly to you, I'm hearing unbeknownst to you, call it out, and because of it you got in trouble. You might have gotten trigger alert, popped, or yelled at, or whatever, right? So there's something about that, right? And then the Ten of Cups fell over this Nine of Swords, right? It's this, oh yeah, it's the Ten of Cups. You know what I saw it as first? As the Lovers. And I thought of choice, right? Because there is this choice that, again, you made. I'm hearing it was a switch, like the switch got turned on where you said, no, right? I'm going to do what I need to do for myself. Confirmation. It was almost like all that I poured into others that wound up not being appreciated. Now I'm withdrawing it. I'm pouring it into myself. And because you did that, look at how you came out. And now Emma Effers is baffled. People are stunned. I'm hearing they, because you were supposed to be the junkie, the non-educated one, right? Maybe in your youthful years you did get in trouble as a result of, right? Maybe there was this big tower where you got into trouble and you went left instead of going right, and because of that you were judged. People condemned you and thought that would be your outcome, that would be your life, and you're effing it, right? And it's Nine of Swords, but the Ten of Swords came out, Ten of Cups came out on top of it, and it's like they expected you to be like this, and yet here you are, I'm hearing, living your best life, right? And then the beauty of this card that I'm seeing And it's interesting because it came out similarly in the last reading. And I was using the mystical moments oracle cards. I'm being led to find that card. And this may be for some of you to go back to that reading. Um, Maybe I'll link it in the description. Because I can't remember the title of it now. Was it Don't Drop the Low? I don't know. Don't get me to lie to you, but Mermaid's Lane. And it's two individuals here. One is a mermaid, and then this other gentleman, you know, has wings. So he belongs to the sky, she belongs to the water. And it was really beautiful how they said these two individuals from two different worlds, yet they know how to support one another with respect and love and build each other up, even though they come from very different and distinct backgrounds. And, you know, he has become like a base for her, right? Where a safe space for her, right? Which was beautiful. And I get the same imagery here. Here he seems like he's this like fish and she's an octopus. Now they're both from the you know, I don't know, now I'm hearing Avatar, right? There's something maybe in those movies. I know they had Avatar the Water World, and now it's Fire and Ash. So there might be something there for some of you. But again, they're not the same, right? They're not two fish. One is an octopus and one is a fish. And look, these are their children. There's something about, because you have lived in the, let's say, as a pretty woman, right? Or as a Kong, right? Or like the two banking affiliates, right? The where it would seem opposite of one another, because you've I'm hearing because there's something about you being able to walk in both worlds, right? Like I'm hearing around the way, girl, right? That's LL Cool J. Oh God, you're able to, you're this total package, because you're able to be this around the way girl with a ponytail and some jeans, standing on the bus stop, sucking on a lollipop. But then you flip the script and you know how to throw on, the suit, and you know how to speak to maybe the youth in your family in a way that they, like, what's up, they understand you. But then you're able to go into the boardroom and make your presentation and do your job there. There's this beauty about you, right? That you know how to play chess, not checkers, bitch. That you are you the hierophant now, right? You've been taught and now you're teaching, right? And it's because you weren't afraid to do the work. You weren't afraid to face your own fears and things that needed to be addressed within you, right? And as a result, you can live and even now be even happier with somebody, because you accept the differences in others instead of judging them and thinking, right? Because it was something about, I said in the first bank, it was like they were clones of one another, right? You don't have to be, now I'm hearing the like a zombie, right? Walking zombies where, and then I make, oh, my head is tingling, oh, the spirit is it's like fire shut up in my bone. And I just looked over and I seen Isaiah, even though that's from the book of Jeremiah, but there's something about Isaiah. The waters won't envelop me, the fire won't burn me. I will, even though I go through all that, I won't smell like I was burnt, right? Like, oh my God, there's something about, then I make the distinction between the two worlds, about the quote unquote normal world and then the quote unquote circus world, and then Dumbo being from the circus, and then Rudolph being a misfit, right? There's something about, now I'm hearing the rejected stone shall be the cornerstone. Baby, you're the cornerstone now, right? And I just heard jokes on them. They couldn't even, people, they're like just like I am right now. They're speechless. They're stuttering and stammering. They don't even know what to do with it. They're so shocked. They're perplexed. They're flabbergasted. Yes. This is beautiful, beloved. And that's it. I think that's the message. Yeah, we're about 40 minutes in. I don't think what else needs to be said. I mean, we might want to close out with since we're using the mystical moments tarot, an oracle card. Even though I think I just heard Spirit said no, I did by using the Mermaid's Lane. That's the mystical moments card. So, okay, let's see. Am I being hard-headed, Spirit? Why do I feel compelled to? One card to close the message out, Spirit. Be proud of yourself, beloved. I'm so honored to be reading for this community because y'all are some powerful. Shut your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Right. And then to understand that we need people like that, right? That is so, I'm hearing accept all, reject none, right? That understand, that sees, I'm hearing namaste, the divinity in me sees the divinity in you. And that you're having the ability to see the divinity in everyone because you're not judging them based on these stereotypes and these aesthetics, or you're not busy trying to live and build yourself based on a reputation. Right? Because that's where the general's daughter, the father, right? And Butterfly Garden came out. Look how beautiful that is. And is that a peacock? Oh, no, that's an actual butterfly. Wow, I saw a peacock too. So for some of you, if you know, Oshun, right? Ashe Mama, right? Yeah, Oshun is the bad. Baby, your sweetness, I'm hearing you're bad to the bone, bad, right? From in and out, you ooze this, je ne sais quoi. You're a chef's kiss, baby. You can't be, people try to imitate it, but you can never be duplicated. There's something about you, baby, right? And butterflies, right? That's transformation, that's metamorphosis. And that's what it looks like. Like her glow up is crazy, right? And it's the number 48. We're going to read it really quick. I don't know. I just got so curiosity, discovery, small moments in life. A woman holds a blooming flower in her hand as she gazes towards the sky. On her head sits a butterfly closely examining the purple petals. Enjoying the situation, the woman stands still and quietly soaks in her surroundings. She does not want to disturb the scene. In our daily life, there are so many possible moments that could be precious if we would just take the time to notice them. Be mindful of your surroundings and pay attention. Ask, why is that there? Then make connections. Small observations can lead to great discoveries. Now, what's so beautiful about that is that that's exactly what this reading was about. It was about my small observations, me pausing enough to see things from a different perspective to then be able to channel this message. So that's number one for you, beloved. This is what you do, how you do, whatever. I don't know. And then the other thing is, pause to see how much you've grown. Pause to see that you're this butterfly, that this is your transformation, right? There's something about everyone else can see it. And now your ancestors, your guides, spirit, whatever you refer to, right? For me, is the one, the la ilaha illallah. There's one. This oneness is saying, stop and see it for yourself. Right? Maybe the next time you pass by a mirror, look at it, wink at yourself and say, that's me, boo, right? You cute, or hug yourself or say you're proud, but acknowledge it. Stop and acknowledge yourself at this time. And that's the message, beloved. If you like the message, please make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't become a subscriber yet. If you like the way spirit flows in this environment and the messages flow to this community, this wonderful community. If you would like to leave any comments and share, I would love to read it. And again, this is how we all learn and grow. Maybe something you say will help not just me, but a member of this community. And yeah, I look forward to our next encounter and our next conversation. Until next time, beloved, Ashe, Amen, and Amen.